Welcome everyone to Goal Chat Live. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of the award-winning Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the Deb Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. And every Sunday night, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then on Monday, I bring in different friends so we could dive deeper into the topic. And this month, we've been talking about visibility, so we did the more general. And last week, we had a great conversation on creating video. So of course, we have to talk about creating content and really just creating, right? Because if we want to be out there, we have to make stuff. Anyway, I've got a wonderful panel today. And one of the reasons I love my live show is I get to bring together people I haven't seen in forever and people who I only know on Twitter. And we have both of those today, and John Moore. So we have all three today. So Rick Broida is like deal master. I know, we call him my deal secrets, and he is a tech editor and writer and does a lot of fun side hustle-y things. And we also have Erika Held, and Erika and I she's the one I've never met before, but we are friends via the Twitter sphere. And John Moore, the asset, he just knows all the things when it comes to tech and events and backstagey cool things. So, and they all view content from a different way, which is what I like when I bring my people together. So I am going to invite them, I'd say to introduce themselves better, but actually it's more like to introduce themselves because all I said was, okay, meet my friends, they're cool. So Rick, welcome. Please introduce yourself and say what it is that you love about creating so much.
Thank you very much, Deb. I am Rick Broida, and for most of my professional life, I have been a freelance technology writer, although in more recent years, I was full-time at CNET, where I have been writing under the nom de blog, The Cheapskate, where I was serving up kind of daily deals and money-saving tips to readers on CNET and via newsletter and via Twitter and so forth. And it's, like I said, it was about 14 years of that. And this past spring, call it post-pandemic burnout, call it midlife crisis, I just kind of hit a wall and just decided it's time for me to go. And like an insane person, I walked away from a cushy job that I could do in my sleep and to try to do something a little different, which turned out to be kind of like the same. But anyway, that's where I am right now, and I'm happy to tell you more about what's currently going on with me a little later on.
That's perfect. And the other thing that I should mention is Rick was one of my guests on the first version of my podcast back when I was doing the Guided Goals podcast. So I will certainly link to that or embed in the show notes, which you can find at thedebmethod.com/blog. So Rick, great to see you. Looking forward to talking more about the adventures of you. And Erika and Cooper, welcome. I'm sorry?
Kupo the baby. I'm a gamer. Kupo. As you can tell by all the toys in my office, and he is named after the Moogles in Final Fantasy. They only say one word, and that one word is Kupo, and it can mean hello, and it can mean friend, and it can mean all of these things. And for me, it's my little Frenchie, so it's Kupo.
Excellent. So Erika, is that your intro? Okay, we're good now. Please share a little bit more, because we met. You lead the content chat, and we met through, I believe, our friend Madeline Sklar, Twitter Smarter Chat, because the chat world is just it's its own.
Like the marketing world in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I lived until 2 years ago when I moved out to Sacramento. So I always say that I'm a recovering journalist because I did go to journalism school and I had some journalism jobs, and very quickly as a San Franciscan realized that's a fantastic way to not ever be able to pay your rent and eat food in the same month. So I very quickly started doing content for companies. So before it was called content marketing, I was, interviewing people writing up things like, here's what cool stuff you should do in San Francisco when you're here for this trade show and event, and all of that. And that, became, now today I work, I have my own consultancy, and I do content strategy, social strategy, and ghostwriting for executives, primarily in enterprise technology space.
Fantastic. And you have a side hustle as well.
Oh, yes.
Well, everybody does. You're kind of like lost. So we'll do the side hustle question next. Let's welcome John Moore. John, great to see you.
Thanks.
So, John, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always considered myself a jack of all trades, master of some. For the longest time, my website was as vague as possible because it meant that any client could sort of reach out and think, is this a good fit for me? Is this a good guy that can help me? And since I hadn't pigeonholed myself down, often if I needed to learn something, I'm very, very good at being able to pick up new things. So I'm always testing new platforms out, trying them for a month or two, and sort of trying to figure out if they're a good fit of a platform to put in my toolbox to then offer to clients as a recommendation for them. So what I love doing is sitting down with clients or prospective clients, and anyone really, and just learning what sort of tools they use on a monthly basis, figuring out if they're optimizing those tools. There might be some things that they feel they have to pay for because everyone else pays for them, Zoom. But there's all these other alternatives that are out there. And so I help people find things that will work better for them, and also things that will be automated as well, so they can continue to focus on the things that they do best, which is selling themselves and selling their products, and let the rest of the process sort of run themselves. And I love it.
So for creating, you need the tools, and why not make your life easier?
Exactly. And there's so many tools out there as well that will let you communicate things in a more unique way as well. You don't have to use the sort of traditional type of things. Depending on what your business is, another email newsletter might not be the best fit for what you do.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because everybody says newsletter, and I put mine on hiatus in November just because I was bored of getting so much email. I did not want to contribute to the problem. But that's probably a little bit longer of a tangent. We'll come back to that. Do you side hustle, or is your entire life a side hustle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really think that my entire life is more or less a side hustle. I'm always shifting and changing what I'm doing every month. I often find if I've got, I think kind of like Rick, where he said that he walked away from something really comfortable. I love diving into things that are uncomfortable and taking on new clients and new work that is something I really haven't done before, because that gives me an excuse to learn something new and to add something new to my toolbox.
Right. And if there's anything we've learned in the last year, is there's extra bonus time to learn new things. So why not learn the new things? So Erika, I promised you could share your side hustle.
So about 5 years ago, I was finally diagnosed with having a wheat allergy. And as somebody who is a lifelong baker, that was horrifying, because my first thought was, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to relearn how to do everything. And instead of having that just be this terrible disappointment, I turned it into Erika's Gluten-Free Kitchen, which is a blog that focuses on gluten-free baking and also on IBS-friendly food, so low FODMAP diet food, because that's something that I found that, it wasn't just the wheat that was giving me digestive issues. It was also stuff like garlic and onions. So I really threw myself into it and created this whole other side business to help other people, other Gen Xers who like tasty food, but also like to not feel like they're going to die because they ate tasty food.
Wow, that mission is a mouthful, but very important, and really goes to prove that the things that you love, when you create, see how I got back to the theme, you can create the things to help other people and also learn new things yourself.
Exactly. And that's so rewarding.
And Rick, your turn. Share side hustle, share time.
Okay, so as you mentioned, once upon a time, I ran an escape room in downtown Detroit. It was a zombie-themed live-action escape room. It was the real deal. I did that for a couple of years and decided it was just kind of too much for me to manage alongside my full-time other writing job. But I really was enamored of the idea of this experience where people are working together and solving puzzles and so forth. And so I kind of pivoted into a side hustle of mobile kind of pop-up escape games for corporations, for team building. And so I have a couple of games that I will take to basically any companies like on-site or any function that they're having. And this can work for anywhere from 15 people on up to 50 people. It's a great big group game. And it's just, it's fun for me to do because, again, I try to make it as thematic as possible. So this is actually a, excuse me, a pirate-themed experience. And I dress up like a pirate, but I talk with a Russian accent for reasons that defy logic. But just to get everybody kind of laughing and having a good time. And so I had to sort of put that on hold for obvious reasons for the last 18 months or so. But it's starting to come back now, and that's good because I really want to spend more time on that now that I've really dialed back the writing. I just cannot sit at my computer all day, every day any longer. I'll just get it out of the way right now. My goal is to get out of the house and like interact with people in whatever capacity I can, and this is going to help me to do that.
Oh, I love that. And this clearly was not planned because of the pirate thing. Did you know that now we're filming this? It's September 20th. September 19th was Talk Like a Pirate Day. Did you?
Talk like. I did know that. I did actually know that. Yeah.
Did you celebrate?
No, well, yeah, by myself in my house alone because, my wife's at work and my kids are gone. And so it's just me talking like a pirate to myself. So.
That's so sad. Well, today you get to talk to at least 3 other people, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
And so part of creation, and again, it's creating content, but it's really creating. What is it? This sounds like the silliest question, but what is the value of creating content? Erika, do you want to jump in?
Well, the value is being able to connect with another human being and either to teach them something, to help them with something that's been a struggle for them, or, to make them laugh. So just to me, the value of creating content is that connection with another human being.
Love it. Connection, make content. Sounds good to me. What do you think, Rick?
For me, it's just about kind of being of service. And sorry if that sounds a little cliche, but when I was, all the years I was writing as the cheapskate, providing deals to people and ways to save money, it really struck a chord. People would send me the nicest notes. You've saved me so much money over the years. You've also made me spend money that I probably shouldn't have. But it was just really, really gratifying that the stuff that I was writing about, which was just kind of fun for me to do, was being of value to people. And so I really love the fact that the content that I create can be of help to people, just in this case, saving money.
And I love that. And so the D and the DEB method is determine your mission. So I'm totally with you on that. When you start with knowing the why behind you do things, whether it is to inform, to educate, to entertain, to save money, or what have you, I think it really brings fuel to whatever it is that you are putting out into the world. John, do you have a thought on the why of creation?
Yeah, and I think that that both Erika and Rick sort of have that same message. I love how Erika said that it's about making someone smile or making someone laugh. That's a really great message to have. I think that people often take content to be very, very serious. And so many people use whatever platforms they're using to share their content as a way to sell their products, as a way to sell their services. And I take it the other way. I feel that that's a pretty disingenuous way to be creating content. I personally feel that content should be a way for you to share your passion. I love doing what I do, and if I could give it, if I could just not work and just get paid by some random Patreon who loved me, and I could just uh, spool out free stuff for people to be able to consume, to get better, to be able to sort of make their businesses look better and make the work that they do more accessible to other people, I would. And I think that that's all about that demonstrating higher value. You want to be a leader in your space, and you do that by giving stuff away and by just helping other people succeed, because then when anyone's looking for some help or anyone's looking for something, they're just going to refer you on and say, and they know how genuine you are. So
you've got the P word, passion, which I think should drive everything. So did you always, well, I can't say did you always know you loved tech tools, because come on, I think we're all Generation XE-ish, right, in this conversation. And a lot of the things that we do today did not exist when we were
right
in school. But did you always love the tools and the gadgets?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm happy to. I always love admitting that I never graduated university, because I went to university in the late 90s, 96, 97, 98, and the stuff that I was doing digital film in high school because I had access to an awesome digital suite through where my dad worked, and then being forced into having to pay for 16 millimeter and 8 millimeter when I went to film school felt like this huge step back. And so I just sort of, I lasted a couple years and then I just went straight into making movies on my Mac, and was like, this is where I'm going from now. I don't need this. And I never looked back. So
that's wonderful. I love that. And what about you, Erika? Did you always know that you liked the words?
I did, and the technology. And I think that that's kind of been fascinating, because I have very clear memories of using not my TI 99.4a computer, but my Commodore 64 to program in BASIC to create an interface so that when my friends came over and we played store, I made them type into the computer what it is that they wanted to purchase. So yes, all of the things. I was bossy, I loved the words, and I loved the technology. And so it's hilarious to me that I was able to combine all of those things into doing content strategy primarily for technology companies.
I cannot love that story more. And Rick, what about you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to gauge everyone's age here. And Erika, I cannot believe you're old enough to have owned a TI. No way. But nevertheless, a quick tool story. Years back, everyone here is old enough to remember the Palm Pilot, correct?
Oh, yes.
So when the Palm Pilot first came out, I just light bulb moment, like this thing needs to have a newsletter, like an actual print newsletter that people get. That's how people used to consume things. And so I decided to launch this Palm Pilot newsletter, and I had PageMaker at the time, which I had sort of cut my bones on a little bit, and I loved that program. I loved the process of assembling everything together, writing the content, putting it together with graphics, the layout, the whole thing of it. And so for me, it was just like the tool made the work fun. It tapped into something that I didn't even know I liked. Before that, it was just writing. And so having this tool available to me, I don't think I was ever happier creatively than when I was doing that. Did I answer your question at all, Deb? I feel like I kind of got off track.
No, I think you did. And you're giving me flashbacks, because one of my early jobs was doing events for Barnes & Noble. And when I started working, I started at one store and then transferred over to Schaumburg to do events for them. And way too much information for the story. But the point is, my first week, they said, Deb, the newsletter's late. And I sat in Kinko's for 2 days learning PageMaker to write that first newsletter I did for the store. So yeah. I'm just having those flashback moments. So yes, you answered the question, and you made me remember like that feeling of learning and discovering, which I think really goes back into the time in which we live right now. We don't know how to do something. We have Google, we have YouTube, we have people who know things. So basically anything we want to do, create, bring into our lives, we're just either 2 degrees or 1 Google search away from learning.
Yeah, that's true, and it's remarkable. I try to give my kids some appreciation for how incredibly easy it is to learn anything now, because 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was the library. You go to the library and maybe you'd find some help, but it's just remarkable what we have access to now.
The library. Yes. Can you imagine if we did not have technology, everybody'd be going nuts. I mean, people are still,
Well, if we didn't have technology, we wouldn't know what we were missing. And I think that, I remember when I was growing up with that, obviously I was pretty young when the internet came out. I think I was in university when I got my first high speed and never had a cable TV package after that. It was sort of, as things came out, even as much as we dreamed what would be possible, I was continually surprised at the things that were coming out, and I still am. I'm still always excited knowing that, in another 5-10 years, things that are going to keep on coming out are going to keep surprising me, and that's what keeps me, really happy and excited about seeing what's around the corner.
And so, Erika, what inspired your Twitter chat?
Well, it's interesting. It was one of those things where I'd been part of the content chat community for a number of years. I'd been a guest a few times, and I had just quit my job at a very prominent PR agency where I had been hired to build out their content studio function. And I was launching my own consultancy, so I actually had some time. And the woman who had been running the chat had just run out of steam and run out of time. And I raised my hand and I said, this is probably crazy of me to do this, but I'll take it over, as long as everybody will help me out here. And that was 5 years ago. And so literally I launched my consultancy and took over the Twitter chat and just kept running ahead. And for me, I just love starting off every Monday talking to a bunch of other content people and, hearing what everyone's working on and whatever the cool new tool is folks are using, or, just getting that perspective. So for me, it's the best way to start the week off.
Yes. Well, and so I do the running start on Sunday nights. When I was originally starting my chat, which started at the beginning of 2018, and I love when I think I got Gold Chat like either in 2013 or 2015. So it was at least 3 years before I was thinking about it before I started it. But it's a way to bring your community together once a week. And this is one of my pandemic projects. This show started April 2020 as the natural progression. So, and Rick, where did the escape roomy thing come from?
Oh my gosh, the actual escape room that I used to operate?
Yeah, what brought that from Mr. Deal Guy? How did that creation come into your life?
So that was okay. So I'll make this as concise as humanly possible. I actually wrote a little tiny biography about this experience, autobiography, I guess. So back in the early days of escape rooms, before most people knew what they were, I was with my daughter, who was probably 12 or 13 at the time, in Chicago, and we were looking for something to do. And on TripAdvisor, one of the top-rated things to do in Chicago was something called Trapped in a Room with a Zombie. And I thought, that sounds kind of interesting. And reading the description, it sounded kind of cool. And then looking at all the 5-star glowing reviews from top to bottom. And anyway, we went and did this thing. And again, there's a live zombie in the room who every 5 minutes gets another foot of chain. And by the end of the hour, if you haven't figured out how to escape the room, the zombie gets to eat you. And I just thought this was the most brilliant and fun and cool thing I had ever seen. And so the next day, I reached out to the owner and I said, look, if you're ever interested in bringing this to Detroit, I want to be involved in some way or another. Keeping in mind, I had never done anything entrepreneurial like this ever. I was only, writer guy, stay-at-home guy. Anyway, 5 months later, we opened in downtown Detroit, and it just it went from there. So it was just a random thing that turned into a side hustle that was just the most amazing experience. And the takeaway I always like to give people from that is just it never hurts to ask. I mean, I just called this guy out of the blue. He should never have given me this franchise opportunity because I didn't know what I was doing, but he did, and it was great. And you don't take you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Absolutely. I love that. When you don't ask, the answer is no, and you never know.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so, John, you do, like, again, your entire life is a side hustle. We've already determined that. But you show up back-ending at events all the time. So is that your main thing, or is that your side hustle-y thing? Where do we find the balance of you?
That's a great question, and that sort of leads into a little bit of my history. So for the longest time, when I sort of left the corporate world, I was really struggling with a ton of mental health stuff, and so I was really only able to work about 20 hours a week. So I was doing 20 hours a week of work, and then I'd fill the remainder of the 20 hours a week with volunteer work. And so that was the way that I was able to feel normally productive, but still have the opportunity to kind of take days off when I needed to, because the volunteer work was fairly casual without a lot of, deadlines and expectations. And then as I slowly start to get a handle on the mental health stuff and feeling better about myself and just feeling more confident in the work that I did, I started to try to figure out a way that I could spool in the passion or the joy or the part of the volunteer work that I enjoyed with more work with more work endeavors. And so that's most of the events and the networks that I help back end in terms of helping them with their tech. Basically gets me in front of a whole new audience of people that are interested in the work that I do. And sort of just provides me with basically essentially what ends up being a free audience of people that are all really eager to soak up the stuff that I have to share.
Oh, that's a great story, and thank you for sharing that. It's really, first of all, I love the self-awareness of how you had to rebalance your life, but I also really love that you felt comfortable sharing that with us, so thank you. And it really is a good lesson. I think what everybody's talking about is you have the things that you love, that you've got the radar up for. So when opportunities come your way, I think that's a huge part of creating, because you have to have your eyes open to see what's going on and where you're going, which is, again, big fan of the mission. When you know your mission, whatever it is in life, then you can assess those opportunities and decide which ones to go for. And some of it is just to have, I'd say just to have fun. To have fun is a really good reason to pursue something. And you all love your side/main/ whatever hustles, which is fantastic. And I kind of asked this before, but since I said we're talking about creating content, I feel like I should ask it as the specific question, but what content do you create? So, Rick?
So right now, I'm creating a little bit of deal content for Yahoo. As I mentioned, when I left CNET, I was really burned out and wanted to do something different. And then Yahoo came along and offered me a job doing more or less the same thing. But I have since sort of scaled that back. And so in addition to the escape game stuff that I'm trying to get back into, the content I'm creating right now is just my own thing. And it's sorry, Deb, it's another newsletter.
I have no problem with newsletters. I just have that whole push-pull because I know I should take my newsletter out of retirement. I do have subscribers. Out of hiatus. Hiatus is a better word than retirement. Yeah. But oh my goodness, I was on a tear the other day where I unsubscribed to like 20 newsletters that I have absolutely no idea how I got there. And I never want to be that person that people unsubscribe from. So what is this newsletter? Can you tell us?
Right. So it's called Deal Secrets, and it was kind of an attempt to take at least some of my CNET readership with me, which I succeeded in doing in a little fractional way. But I always wanted to just kind of doing this deal stuff my own thing, rather than just like, sending lots of affiliate revenue to CNET or to Yahoo or whomever. I just thought, okay, I want to have my own thing. And so I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and I'm actually using Twitter's a newly acquired newsletter tool, which is called Review, which is pretty good in many ways. It's very novice friendly and simplistic. It has a few kinks that need to be worked out, but as a newsletter generation tool, it works very well and has been pretty great for me. And that's it. I'm doing this once a week right now. It was really just kind of like a proof of concept. Is this something that people would be interested in? Would the readership be good? And what kind of feedback? And so far, it's been great. I have on average about a 70% open rate, which is kind of unheard of, and very excited by that. Making almost zero money doing it, but it's there for now, and so that's my big content creation thing right now.
Excellent. And so, do you have a link so people can sign up?
I do. I actually sent that to you in the private chat. I don't know if there's any easy way to make that public, or if I.
Oh, that's the link that we put up before?
That is the one. I know it's not very sexy at some point, but if you were to search for deal secrets online and maybe my name, you'd probably find that pretty easily. Like I said, I have really just been tiptoeing into this, so I don't have a great short link or even a web page to drive to.
But it will be in the recap, and you will have one more subscriber, me, by the end of the day, because I love my deals.
You guys also. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll have 3 more subscribers at least by the end.
That's how we do it. That's how we guerrilla market our way to success.
Right.
Oh, and you're
one
welcome.
video podcast at a time.
One podcast at a time. That's 3 more. That's huge.
Woohoo! And so, John, what are you creating right now?
So great question. I'm actually not creating a lot of stuff for myself right now. I'm just helping other clients that have a lot of content to share, and so that's what I'm really enjoying. Is that I actually one of the spaces that I sort of have lent into is the nonprofit space, because that was sort of associated with a lot of the volunteer work I did. A lot of the organizations that I volunteered with now pay me to do. To sort of work with them, because they already know me and they already know the kind of work that I can do. And so it's pretty interesting. I've really been excited about this conversation, because you keep on mentioning things that are awesome segues into what I want to sort of talk about next. So I'm just sort of waiting to stick my hand up just so I can talk about a sort of 2 aspects. One I wanted to say is that I think content really should be you should have fun making your content. And I think that that's something that people don't really understand or grasp. It shouldn't be a job. It should be something that you're enjoying. The job can follow and can be attached to whatever the content is, but the actual creation of the content should be something that you find fun. And the other thing I wanted to mention briefly about newsletters is that I sort of stumbled across what I consider like my mini secret to newsletters, which I'm excited to share with everyone, which is that I've found that when you give people the option to sign up for a newsletter, you also give them the option to sign up for a quarterly or even an annually newsletter. Right from the beginning, you don't have to sort of say when they click on unsubscribe, say, hey, before you go, would you rather this? Right from the beginning, giving someone a quarterly newsletter, I find that I get the most amount of opens from emails from the quarterlies, because they come in enough that people remember who you are. The yearlies are sometimes people like, oh, who's that guy again? But the quarterlies, you can also craft them in a way that you're referring to previous content that you shared in the weekly or the monthlies. And so it might be stale in terms of its effectiveness, but the content or the way that it was excitedly shared by you in the past carries on into those quarterlies. So people see it. And I've often gotten emails from when I've set this up for clients, they get like an email coming in from someone saying, oh, I was just thinking about you the other day, and now your email came in. I'd love to talk more about XYZ that you mentioned. So you can make the quarterlies around something business related. If it's a business related, like business segments of the year, you can make it a seasonal sort of content, but it gives people the opportunity to sort of make content that is structured a little bit differently.
That's great. Really good tip. And I thank you. And I'm going to ask the tools question next, so be ready. But first, I want to go to Erika to please share what content you're working on right now. What are you creating?
Well, in the past week, I've mostly created PowerPoints because I just recorded my marketing prof session for their conference that's being held next month. And then I just finished my deck for Content Marketing World, which I'm speaking at in person next week, which is the first in-person conference I have been to since 2019. Woo, I'm so excited. So I've been creating PowerPoints and templates to go with the PowerPoint so that people can actually listen to me and ask questions instead of trying to scribble down everything I say and to draw examples of all of the ways in which I, explain how to do things. So mostly I've been doing PowerPoints. But outside of that, I've been doing a ton of blog content, working on a course. And for the blog, I want to do some video, but I've just been, it's just been one thing after another this year. And so the video project keeps being put on the back burner, but it's going to be something that I'm finally going to work on for realsies.
Wonderful. So we've got video as your goal, and Rick's goal is to get outside the house. And we will I'm sure John will accidentally or on purpose share a goal at some point as well. And I'm going to go to you first on this question because John's chomping at the bit. What are your favorite tools and platforms for creating, producing, and distributing content? Go.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about this. I'm all about the AppSumo lifestyle. And I'm always surprised when I run into new entrepreneurs and business owners in general that are not familiar with AppSumo. But it's a platform where you can basically go and buy lifetime deals on things. And they've got a 60-day, 2-month return policy. You can return anything you like, no questions asked. And they're super good about it. You get it immediately. And so I use that to test a lot of platforms. Something that I've really been enjoying is something called Dubb, dubb.com. It is a video sharing tool that also embeds in emails and in LinkedIn messages, and it's really clever the way that it's organized because it lets you mix evergreen content with personalized content. So, for example, if I send a client 4 videos, 3 of them can be evergreen, and then the 4th one I refer to them by name, and then they think that all the videos are recorded expressly for them, and it's just got a bunch of great tracking analytics in the back end. It's got click-throughs. It's got everything that you can even prompt people to send videos back to you as responses to your messages, and start chats within their platform. And the team that's behind it is just continually doing what I like to do, which is pumping out tons of awesome, passionate, free content. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I also have goals to do more video messaging, so I will check that out as well. What about you, Rick? Do you have I know you mentioned the Twitter newsletter that you've been playing with. Anything else that we must know about?
Well, there's one tool that I have found really useful of late. A lot of times the deal posts, they always require artwork. So when you want to take a product shot and drop it onto like a nice colorful background or whatever, you need a way to remove the background from that image. And I've never been good at, I know what I said about PageMaker, but I've never been good at Photoshop, and I'm still not. But I did find that Adobe has an online tool called Adobe Spark, which for the moment is free and will let you remove the background from just about any image with like one click. And it doesn't work flawlessly all the time, but it does work well a lot of the time. And so that's just been a real asset to me. I know there's a ton of tools out there that can remove background images, but a lot of them cost money, and I am still the cheapskate in my blood. So free is better.
And to double click on that as well, Spark is also available on mobile as well. So if you're generating a lot of content on the go, as a lot of us are now, it gives you the opportunity to do that too.
Nice. Thanks for double clicking. I love that we're all techie here. Erika, what about you? What are some of your favorite tools? And even before that question, are we allowed to say PowerPoint, or does that age us? Are we supposed to call them decks?
Well, in these cases, they're actual PowerPoints because I use Beautiful.ai in order to generate the look and feel of everything. And then I had to put them into PowerPoint templates that the conference organizer sent. So they are legit PowerPoints. I use, other things usually, but if I'm sent a PowerPoint slide template, I will use it.
Now you said Beautiful AI.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Beautiful.ai is basically a way for non-designer people who are being forced to create presentation decks to have things remain balanced and properly aligned and look like you actually knew what you were doing or were using a template. So it's just a really fantastic tool. I would have lost my mind creating my content marketing world deck without it, because just things like getting things aligned properly. I have an eye for seeing things are misaligned. I do not have a good eye for figuring out where I should actually put everything. That is not my strong set. I can write you a paragraph about where it should be, but I cannot necessarily get the things how I want them.
Something, Erika, that you might find something interesting to take a look at. It's a platform that's been around for a while, but it has sort of picked up a bit of speed again a little in the past. It's something called Prezi. Mm-hmm. And it sort of lets you design animated decks. You can turn them into videos and then use them for video content as well. So you're saying you wanted to get it as a video content. That would sort of give you as a stepping stone, because you can also use them as sort of triggered decks as well if you're presenting live.
Totally. I've seen some really great presentations done in Prezi. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. People always get blown away when they see it. They go, what is this? And it's been around for, at least 5-6 years at this point, but they've really doubled down on a lot of content now. So
it is very cool. And then I'd say the other tool that I've been using a ton and that I feel like people don't really know about or don't know how to put it to use is Feedly. Because back in the day, we all had, Google Reader, and then they got rid of that platform. But still, if you are somebody who reads a lot of blog content in particular, you don't want to have to go out to somebody's website to see if there's a new blog post, because inevitably there isn't. And so then you've wasted a bunch of time. So I started using Feedly just to organize all of the feeds I wanted to read, especially because I was reading stuff for clients. I was reading things for myself about marketing. I was also trying to collect recipes because I do a weekly recipe roundup for the blog. So I started using it like that. But now with their new capabilities, it is a tool that I use with clients when I'm doing content curation for social media, because you can be putting in your Twitter searches, you can be monitoring hashtags, you can be doing all that stuff and organizing it all through the same platform, so that instead of having to send them a bunch of emails or send them to different places to see things you've put together, you can literally have this really lovely interface where you say, here's the content that I think we might want to share. And then they can, pick and choose and move it into the to be published category. And then you're, on your way. And it's so nice to not have to look for all of the notifications or log into 4 platforms in order to see, have the executives for this team tweeted anything? Was the company mentioned? And to find all the industry resources all at once. It's awesome.
Nice. I like it. And again, all these links will be in the recap. So if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will find all this and probably more, because we still have a little bit more time. So going back to creating, and it's, guest choice, what is your best tip for creating? And it can be for content or events or gadget or whatever. I don't care. Up to you. Rick.
Thanks for picking me first, because I'm going to choose the easiest answer to that question, which is strike while the iron is hot. My most productive time is right after the coffee is kicked in the morning. I have 2 really, really good hours where I'm just firing on all cylinders, and then after that, it's nothing but garbage. Get going in the morning, or whenever you have your peak energy of the day. That's when you should be creating. No question, because it's draining. It's draining. And then like if you come to something later on that like needs to be done, and you're just kind of already spent from earlier work, you're not going to do your best stuff.
Absolutely. When I used to have my live group, every couple months someone would come in and ask, when is the best time to write? And I would compose myself. I got to the point where I would not laugh when that question is, but you have to turn it back. When is the best time for you? It could be in the morning, it could be at night, it could be in the middle of the day, but it's different from everybody. I think know thyself is hugely important when it comes to creating. Erika, what do you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I agree with that. I used to, when I had a full-time corporate job, I did all of my writing first thing in the morning too, before I went to work. It was fantastic. I would say though, my tip is going to be a digital packrat, but be very organized about it. And for that, I use Evernote because I have the paid version. So I have Evernote as an app on my iMac. I have it on my Mac laptop. I have it on my iPad, and I have it on my phone. So I have it on all of my devices so that if I find anything that I want to save because I want to link to it in like some piece that I'm writing, or some piece that I have not even written yet, or if I have like a little spark of an idea, even if it's just like the opening paragraph for a blog post I'm not going to write for months, just whatever those things are, I can create them, I can save them in Evernote, and I can file them in a way that I'll actually find them again, which means I don't have 50 million Post-it notes all over my computer, which is how I used to run my life before Evernote.
Nice. I would be remiss if I did not say that I like Google Docs for that reason. And I just create one for each. Either it's a broad. Actually, I do like my monthly log, my win log. I do because that back when you used to leave the house, that way it was wherever you are. But also for every project, I like to assign a different document to, and Evernote puts them all together. So really, really good tip and tool. John, what about you?
I'm going to go with the answer that no one else has said yet, which is strike while the iron is hot. No, I was going to say that you really have to put yourself in your audience's shoes. I think that it's really important to sort of go back, take a look at something that you sort of haven't looked at the delivery method of in a while. You've just been still creating content, when you do it regularly. Go back and sort of just open up an incognito tab and visit your website, pretend you're a first-time person reading it, and sort of click through and see if there are any problems, see if there are any things that aren't working, because often you'll find there's a link that's stale. You'll find something that's added there that you just you don't see it with fresh eyes. So sort of doing that really lets you make sure that everything that you're doing is going to be the most effective it possibly can be. And I wanted to briefly mention, on top of the Evernote conversation that we are having, there is a platform called Notejoy that I use that is much more lightweight and a little bit cheaper. It also supports Markdown, which is something that I love, which is a really easy syntax language, because I love being able to use it to be able to organize my content. And I'm the same way. I'm a huge digital pack rat with huge collections of libraries of content. So.
Excellent. Well, this has been such a wealth of information. And what I'd like to, now we are going to transition to the goal portion of the conversation. And given that the two of you have already mentioned goals for yourself, I am going to ask the dual question. So what goal do you want to set for yourself? But also, what goal do you want to gift to those who are tuning in? If there's one thing that they can do today to bring them a step closer to creating, what would that be? John, first of all, we need a goal from you, and then a goal for you, and a goal from you. Okay, said it right.
Yeah. I think a goal for me is to just figure out a better way that I can take all the great advice and information that I have for helping my clients to share their content and start doing that again for myself. Like I mentioned to you before the call started, that I really have been taking a bit of a break. 2020 and 2021 was the exact opposite as it was for everyone else. I was incredibly busy working, 50, 60 hours a week for 8-9 months in a row. So I sort of took a step back, and it's time for me to sort of double back down and to get back into the content creation game. And I would say that my sort of my challenge to others, I think, or my goal to others, is just start. Don't set yourself a really aggressive schedule. It's way better, as anyone who posts to YouTube says, it's better to be regular than it is to be, irregular and all over the place. If you only want to commit to doing one post a month, hold yourself to that, and keep that regularity going. And just and there's nothing wrong with writing and just keeping it ready to spool out at a later date.
So start somewhere and be regular about it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Consistent. That's probably the better word.
Writing. Yeah.
Start somewhere and be consistent. Sounds a lot nicer. Excellent. So, Erika, you can choose a new goal for yourself or an additional one, or go with what you said before. And also, what goal do you want to gift to our audience?
Well, I'm going to keep the previous goal because it's something that's really important, because it's the specific video content I want to do is related to my food blog. And it's something that I wish that I'd had video content around and that there still isn't. So it's like I need to get off my butt and just do it. So thank you for gifting me that, John. I will just start and not worry about it not being perfect, because of course I'm like, it's going to be kludgy. I don't know anything about video. Blah. Fine. I'm just going to do it. Okay. But what I would gift to people kind of goes back to how I've spent this past week, putting together all these presentations. Well, I'm actually an introvert, and it's terrifying to stand on a stage in front of people. And yet I pitch myself to do these things because it's always a good experience after I've done it. So I'd say, find that thing that you always dreamed of doing that's really frightening and pitch yourself for it, even though you're like, I'm so not ready, they won't want me. I mean, I remember the first time I put in a speaker pitch for Content Marketing World, and then they picked me. And as I explained it, to my horror, they picked me, and then I had to go do it. And I was terrified. I had an asthma attack on stage and had to just drink some water and calm down. Okay. Horrifying. But you know what? Nobody laughed. Nobody laughed at me. Instead, everybody was like that much more invested in me actually getting through. And they're like, you did great.
Might pass out.
You're like, you did great. We thought you might keel over from that asthma attack, but you did fantastic. So, just go, apply for that really scary thing, because you might get it and you'll learn something. You might learn that you hate doing those things, but that's okay too.
I go out of your comfort zone would be the other way to phrase it. But I love that. We always, done is better than perfect, I think is one of my favorite phrases and a common theme, because you can only be in your head so much.
Totally.
And if Rick hadn't just asked, there may have been no zombies in Michigan. We don't know.
That's true.
So, Rick, do you want to edit or repeat or change your goal or add to your goal for you? Or what do you think?
Sure. Well, first of all, John, you kind of stole mine, so thanks for that. But this actually kind of dovetails with what both of you said, and that was some absolutely great advice. My goal for myself, and it also dovetails with this about getting out of the house, is to just now that I've sort of forced myself into a semi-retirement, is to sort of figure out how I want to spend the back nine. I'm 52 years old, so I feel like I'm now playing the back nine, as they say. And I need to figure out what that looks like. I thought I was going to be doing the same kind of career forever. And well, hey, look at that. There's a great book I can get that's called Your Goal Guide. And that's going to have all the answers for me. It's sold where all fine books are sold. And I'm going to pick one up immediately after the show. But the suggestion I would have for people, sort of again, like what John said, is to just take that first step. And I'll use a real world actual example from today. I'm starting this Deal Secrets little enterprise of mine, and I know that TikTok is the place to be for that sort of thing right now. Some people are already doing it and they're killing it, and I'm thinking like, God, I really need to be doing that, and I'm just like, it's hard. This is intimidating. I know it's a lot of work to do that, and I thought, okay, there's one step I can take today, and that's to create a Deal Secrets TikTok account. I can do that. Okay, I can take that little step, and I did. I created the account. Now that's done. Now I'm on the path. I have taken a step. That was not hard. So I'm going to chip away at this a little by little to get to where I need to go, rather than just sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, this is too much. I can't be on TikTok. It's too much. Little steps at a time, and I'll chip away, and I'll get there."
So you created TikTok account, so now you have to create the ticks and the talks.
Exactly. Yep.
And so what are you gifting? What goal are you gifting to other people?
So that's it, is to just take the little baby steps, to don't be intimidated by the whole, I heard a great piece of advice the other day. I think it was on TikTok, that like, if you think like, you're supposed to go out and get your exercise for the day, you're supposed to go for a run, and it's like, I can't go run for 30, 40 minutes. It's too much. I can't. But could you run for 5 minutes? Well, okay, yeah, I could run for 5 minutes. So I'm going to go out the door and I'm going to run for 5 minutes. And it's like, if I'm done, then I'm done. But chances are good I'll keep running. And that's exactly what this is. If I take the 5 minutes to set up the TikTok account, chances are good I'll go on to the next thing.
Excellent. So actually, all three of your goals work together. It's start somewhere and do the thing that scares you and take the baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're all do a book. My God, we are geniuses.
Well, and this is why I like doing these episodes, because I bring these people together, and most of the time, the people don't know each other. And that's kind of the point, is you never know where the conversations lead, which makes it extra fun for me. You all are awesome. Before we wrap, please tell people where they can find you. Rick?
So same link as I mentioned before, the review newsletter. I'm on Twitter at My Deal Secrets, and Facebook, just straight up Deal Secrets. So that's the best place to find me right now.
Excellent.
Soon on TikTok.
Soon on TikTok. Okay. And Erika, where can people find you?
Easiest place is Twitter. So for everything content marketing related, it's at SF Erika. And for everything gluten-free baking related, it's at Erika Gluten Free.
Perfect. And John, where can people find you?
People can find me at my links at the top of the page, LinkedIn at Engage the Asset, or Engage the Asset on Twitter. And I'd love to just, if people also want to fire up bookme.theasset.ca, I'm happy to toss them a free half hour and get to know them better. I'm really excited to help other people just sort of get better at what they do.
Fantastic. Well, you've all been super generous with your time and your knowledge, and thank you so much. And I'm at The Deb Method everywhere. You can learn more about me at thedebmethod.com, and you can grab a copy of your goal guide at your favorite place to buy books. Well, thank you all so much for chiming in. Real quick speed round. Final thought, Erika.
Well, I'm just looking at my adorable puppy, and I was just going to say, if you need more adorable puppies in your life, he is on Instagram at Kupo the Frenchie.
Excellent.
And everyone should be inviting their pets to all video calls. That's my big advice.
Bring your pets. Okay, I think I'm going to have to get a pet just so I could bring my pet to my live shows. John, final thought?
I think just what Rick started with, and I still can't get out of my head, which is again, strike while the iron is hot. Like, don't wait, just get started.
Excellent. And Rick, final thought to you.
What John just said. Yep. What he said about what I said, that's it. Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, watching, listening. Just remember, whatever you want to create, it's all up to you. Remember, you can do it.